Hello,
Okay.
hello. This is
Hello. And
Aaron.
it's Kaya. We are here, Bravo While Black. We have one of the most special guests that we've had in
Yes,
quite some time. We have
yes.
an actual housewife. Thank you very much. We have Miss Lisa Barlow, and we love that, don't
From
we?
Salt
We
Lake.
love that.
We love that. How are you, Lisa? You look gorgeous today, as
Thank
usual.
you.
You guys
I'm
should see
so
her.
good. We
Yeah.
got our first like real snowstorm last night. So we finally have snow on the ground. It literally has felt like spring. So it's so amazing. Like, I love it. Love
I
it.
love I love the scenery just watching the show, so I could imagine.
Yeah, and then you guys also have really good music on the show. Like it's like a like
Oh,
it's a weird kind of like church, but then they remix it. But then like it has like I don't know, it's weird.
it
We've
is.
never had everything about this show is different. Like from the people that star into it to the music to the scenery, and that's why we love it so much.
Even the opening song, my mom's like, this is
Yeah,
pretty
like it
this is
has flavor
different.
with it.
I know it's so good. They did us right. Like, I'm like, you guys are treating us so well. I was excited. At first, when they would like pan from one housewife to another, John's like, did they give you your own music? Like, I feel like there's music that plays when it's you, music that plays when it's Meredith. And I was like, I don't know, but it's cool. Like, they did good.
You guys have your
Really
signature
good.
sound.
It's
You
the
all
Salt
have
Lake
your
mix.
Our
signature look.
signature noises.
But before we get into the show, can you tell us a little bit about your background, like where you're from, what it was
Yeah.
like for you growing up, and how
Yes.
you ended up putting roots down in Utah?
So I grew up in New York, born and raised. My whole family's still there. I'm one of six kids. So I have four sisters and a brother. And my parents were super young. They fell in love. They knew they wanted to be together. So like they literally, like my mom helped put my dad through everything, like, like schooling and work. And my dad's an amazing, both of my parents are amazing, but for different reasons. My mom is super hardworking, super creative. I love her style because she's super natural. Like my mom's never had any like filler or Botox or anything, and she's just aged like beautifully.
Gracefully.
And she literally instilled that into us girls. Like she was always like, be so natural. She loves fashion. My mom has like, she's in her mid 60s and she dresses amazing. Like she's so tiny. She literally, I think my mom's 88 pounds at 5'6". It's
Oh,
genetic. She's just
Wow.
skinny
tiny.
legend.
She's just tiny. And so she had six kids in 8 years. And literally, like, we just learned from a young age, like, I don't know if I felt like, um, I didn't ask for much. Like my parents took amazing care of us. But I think like being one of the top three kids, I'm the third in line out of the six. My sister Denise and I share the middle spot. But I think I like naturally took on like a parental role with my younger siblings. So I helped out a lot with my three younger sisters. Like before school, until I was like in middle school, I did my three younger sisters' hair for school every day, made sure they were dressed. My parents both worked. So I was like kind of like the caregiver, like from like fifth grade. Like in fifth grade, I was like getting everybody ready. And I just think my parents instilled like this really strong work ethic in all of us, where they were like, you know what, you can have anything you want. You just have to be willing to work for it. And we saw how hard our parents worked. To accomplish things and like the risks that they took like in business and in all aspects of their life. So I think that gave us a lot of confidence because we saw failures young, we saw wins young. Like there were some things that my dad worked on that were like so successful, and some things didn't turn out that great. So you learn from that, and I think it gave me like an innate like I have an innate business acumen, and it just played off that. Like I just think it like gave me confidence because I'm like, okay, if we do that, that will happen. If we don't do that, this will happen. So hold on one second.
No
Henry,
problem.
I'm so sorry, guys.
No,
It's no problem.
that's our
We can't
friend.
talk
Like
about
we've seen Henry a few
it.
times.
Sorry, Henry. You're probably gonna see him visiting a lot. But
Henry's here, guys.
with my parents, sorry. Okay, I love you. Okay. He's like blowing me
Make sure he
kisses.
knows.
But being a part of a pack, it's awesome because I have four sisters. I'm used to being around a lot of girls. We support each other. We all have like super strong personalities, and just that New York in us, like where we're like super direct. I always tell my kids the bad truth is better than a good lie. And I just like people to be direct with me. I'm super direct back with them. And I think that stems from, growing up with 6 kids, and you had to say what you wanted. You had to mean what you said with them, because you can get lost in the shuffle. Like 6 kids in 8 years is a lot. And like, I don't know how my mom and dad did it. Like literally, like.
Yeah, that's I'm one of 4, but I'm like the youngest one. So
you get all the special treatment.
Yeah, exactly. Like I get my mom's special treatment, and then all of my siblings are way older, so I was like spoiled. So then when I went out into the real world, I'm like sharing, and like all this stuff is a foreign concept.
What does that mean?
Like, what?
I remember when my little sister was born too. It was like, you have that responsibility of being an older brother now and looking after her. So that was like a big thing for me, because I was so used to being the only child and just, relaxing in my room and having my own toys to play with. So that was like a lot.
Yeah, that can be a lot. I feel like Henry and Jack both get that because there's 7 years between them. So I feel like they're both only children, and they both are very demanding. They're both like, me. But Jack's an amazing, if the roles were reversed, it would be tough. Like Jack is a much better, like he's an amazing older brother. He's sensitive, where Henry's just like, let's go,
Henry, okay, I know that Jack, I think you said, was a Sag, right?
Henry's a Sag and Jack's a Libra.
Libra, okay, yeah, totally different like personalities. I always ask them about the signs. So,
it's a horoscope.
What would you say would be okay? So, did you go to college? What did you study, or did you like start businesses? What do you think?
You know
was,
what?
Like, your first like oh my god, I did it like moment.
There were a few different things. So I bounced around school. So I came out to Utah to go to school, and that was like an amazing experience for me. And I was here for a few years, and I was like, you know what? I really miss being home. I actually stayed summers too. So I wouldn't go home during the summer. I'd stay in Utah. I loved it here. I had such a solid friend group. And like, I really thought I was going to be, like when you graduate from high school, I'm going to be a physical therapist. Well, my personality and physical therapy,
I cannot see you doing that at all. Like, even staying in one place.
Let me check your bones and muscles and stretch you out. Like, so that wasn't like, I was like, I'm not interested in this. And then I wanted to go back home. Like I was really missing being in New York, being around my family. So I told my parents, I'm like, hey, I'm going to move back home, and then went to school in New York at the University of New York at Albany. And I loved being home. Like I started dating somebody. Like I never really had a boyfriend until I moved back home, like my whole life. Like there were boys I had crushes on, but I just was like too busy to want to date. Like I'd rather be the free spirit that's like, okay, I'll go to the party with you. I'll hang out with you, and not be tied down at all. John's like probably my 3rd boyfriend ever. Like I just like being free. And so then I went back to school in New York, and that's when things started to click. So I had, the kids I grew up with, one of them worked for, a lot of things happened kind of at the same time. He was working for a guy named Nate Lisi of Mass Mutual. And my friend's name is Cale Van Buren. He's an awesome guy. And he's like, hey, will you help us out? Well, I was in school. And he's like, you can work at night. You can pick a night that you want to work. And then, like for us, and like do lead generation type stuff, like where you're calling on people that like are interested in financial planning services and stuff like that. That's like the boring stuff about it. But like, it was like really social, super interactive. And I helped grow his business by setting up these appointments. And I didn't even really, I don't think at the time grasp the impact I was having on his business, but I was so social, super I was born with an innate confidence. And that probably triggers some people, but I just am like, I go. And I'm like, oh, you hate me. It's okay. Oh, I annoyed you today. You'll figure it out. Like, and, I think that was so good for me to have that. And then I was, met an amazing woman named Kathy, and she owned a boutique, and she's like, you would be perfect in my shop, but I didn't want to give up the other job. So I'm like, I'll help you in your boutique. So I would schedule my school. And then at night I like to be busy. So I would just schedule stuff at night, and then I helped her with business. It was a beautiful boutique in this place called Stuyvesant Plaza in upstate New York. I'm still friends with other boutique owners in the plaza. This is like since college, so it's a long time ago. I'm older than you guys.
Listen, you look amazing. So
thank you.
We look older.
Yeah.
No, not even. Drink more tequila, it like preserves you.
More Vita tequila, everyone.
Yeah.
You need to. We definitely need to. So I started working at the boutique, and then I learned a lot about business side, the buying, like how to merchandise things. I made all of her signs. I designed her business cards, and she loved my aesthetic. And I was like, okay, so I've got the business side down, I've got the creative side down. And then for school, I took on an internship at St. Anne's Institute. It's a lockdown school for kids from all different walks of life, just troubled kids. And I fell in love with it. Like, I'm like, you know what? It was another learning experience for me, like how to do conflict resolution, how to build people up, when to be super honest with someone and when to kid glove them. It was so great for me.
So you had a good balance of
Yeah.
like business, social, and philanthropy.
Yeah. And I feel like it all like kind of like made me think like, hey, like this all works together. And like I saw how, you know, everything I was doing was like teaching me something. And I think a biggest aha moment was for me was when I was at St. Anne's. There was a Christmas, like a lot of kids I found out from, you know, I grew up with this like super loving family, super loving extended family, like full of love. And these kids didn't all have that. And some of them didn't have homes to go home to. Some of them had worse situations leaving the school, and some of them, their parents just didn't want to deal with them. So I'm like, for the kids that had to stay at the school, I was like, let's do Christmas for them. And I went to every store in the plaza, and everyone was so generous, called their vendors. We got so many donations that every girl got 6 gifts. And that to me was such a major moment, because I'm like, you know, this is like, you can accomplish a lot if you're aware and you're willing to ask people for help. And so for me, that's where I learned, like, I'm not afraid to ask for people for what I need. And, you know, just started growing from there. I worked with my mom on a really major business, and we built the company in Utah, Texas, Louisiana, upstate New York. And that was amazing for me. My mom's younger sister is totally self-made, completely driven. So I've been around really inspirational people, both from my parents and my aunt. And, you know, I just always have trusted myself. I don't get distracted. I don't get caught up in the minutia of things. Like, I have a goal in my head and I really want to attain that. And I think for a lot of people, fear gets in the way. Like, they're like, how am I going to make this happen? Like, even to this day, you know, bigger businesses, bigger problems, I'm never afraid of anything. I'm like, there's got to be, I think, worst case scenario out. And I'm like, let's go get it. Let's go make it happen. And, you know, luckily I'm married to someone who like likes me the way I think.
Yes.
Like, so, you know, even though on the show it looks like he's like, stop, John's always like, let's go, do more, come on, let's go. And he's inspiring for me too, because we're so different. Like, John's a Scorpio and he's like a total type A personality. But with me, he has that Leo moon though. So I think that's
there's
Leo
a balance.
Like, are you a Leo?
He's a Leo. Yeah.
Oh, Leo's my best match. Like, I'm a Sag. What are you again, Kay?
I'm Capricorn, so I'm like
that's my
in
moon
control
sign.
of everything. Yeah, that's where you get like the business side, the boss side. Like, let's do this.
Yeah.
Let's do this, because the Sag is flighty. So if I were just straight Sag, we might have some problems. I'd start a lot of things and not finish. But I'm like, I was supposed to be born in January, but my mom's like, the cord was around your neck, so you had to come early. But like, I feel like I'm like really Capricorn, like too, like a lot of the Capricorn.
Yeah, you have all of the.
It seems like
the rising, the moon.
It seems like it.
It's just like
that's why you two go so well together too.
Yeah, because like you can't have two bosses in a room. Like, but like I wouldn't have made it this far with the podcast and the page without him, and him without me. Like, I'm on the front lines. I'm like, I can be social, but I'm just like, let's do what we need to do.
Person to be like, we got to do this, we got to do that, we got to do this.
And then he helps me put it together.
And I'm like, okay, we're going to put it together, and we're also going to calm down. And I love it. You need that balance. So, and then sometimes as a Leo too, you don't have that same amount of confidence. So you kind of like, you relax a little bit. So I think, you know, I don't relax. She pushes me sometimes, and I'm like, oh, okay.
And then we end up with this. We end up with Miss Lisa Barlow on our podcast. So it's like, without both of us, it wouldn't work.
You know, after the first time I met you guys, I was like, I love you too. Like, literally your energy and you're positive. I love positivity. Like, I have a hard time with negativity because I'm always like, I want to go. I want to be positive because you can't, I gotta fix this real quick.
It's okay.
You can't be positive. If you like, sometimes when you're not as positive, it's so hard. Like you have to think, I think everyone always asks me like, what are the keys to success? And I'm like, you have to keep your eye on the ball and don't let any negativity come in your head. Literally push it out. And when Jack was little, Jack is 16 now. He always has had an innate business acumen like me. I feel like he gets what we're doing. He's a lot like my husband, John. He's reserved. He's like polite. He's really social too, like with that Libra aspect. But he, would like start to get down on himself. And then one day on his own, I would always be like, be positive, be positive. I think that's just how I parent. Mm-hmm. He started writing himself notes and putting it on the back of his door, in the drawer where he opened up in the bathroom for his toothpaste. And it would say, you're great. You're going to do amazing today. And it changed his mindset.
Yeah,
it was crazy because it sounds so cheesy,
but you never know what works for different people.
You definitely need that.
Yeah, like on Real Housewives of Potomac, Candace had her thing. She's like, you are going to be okay. And me as a Capricorn, I'm like, oh my God, we don't have time for that. But with other personalities, it's like some people need that.
You have to,
those affirmations.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like I need that myself sometimes. I'm like, you need.
We all need it sometimes, don't you think? Like, we all need affirmations sometimes. But, like that's when I had my real aha moment, and I just started going from there. And, I built a really great Rolodex for me. I've never been afraid to work hard, and I do multiple things, but they all work together. And I think that's why it's been pretty good,
Okay, so how did you get this title as like the Sundance Queen? Like I know that you ended up going back to Utah. Like that's the only thing that I knew about Utah was like, okay, like Sundance is somewhere in there. But how did you even start, like getting into that business in that world?
A lot of different things. So I grew up in New York, so I had like amazing connections in New York, and a lot of people in entertainment are in New York. And then for our business, Vita, we travel all the time. So I'm constantly like, you sit by me on the plane, we're best friends. Like, I know your kids' names, like we're best friends. If I'm in your city, we're going to meet up for coffee. And I've just always been like a naturally good networker. And so when I started going to Sundance in college. So when I was out here for school, I started going to Sundance, and it was nothing like what it's turned into. It's like evolved, and it's amazing and so cool. And it's so nice to have that in our backyard. But like people would start by calling me and asking me questions like, hey, do you know anyone that can do this for me? I'm coming in for Sundance and doing a film party. Do you know anyone that would want to sponsor this? Like, do you want to put your tequila at our event? And this is like probably 13 years ago now. And so what started off as me just helping people and attending amazing parties, I was like, wait, like I can do way more than this.
Yeah.
And then we launched Vita Tequila at Sundance in 2007, and we, spent millions of dollars doing it, flying in all of our distribution partners and everything. And John and I are still in our 20s at this point too. Like, so it's like
early on, you're like, building that.
Yeah. And so we paid so many people, and I was like, you know what? I can do this. So I like all the people we met doing our own events, and then the people that were like in my Rolodex from growing up in New York, and I did a stint in LA. I literally started to turn it into like friendship, into like a business. And, I just found myself doing all the things that people needed locally where they didn't know the right vendors to go to. With Silicone Slopes being here and like such a strong tech presence, we have so many amazing vendors for like everything you can think of. Like you need hats made in 5 minutes. You need signs made, a car wrapped. You're calling at 4:30 and you're like, I need the car wrapped by 6. I know the people that can do that. And so I really turned it into, it's a luxury lifestyle marketing company, because not only do I create brands, I also create environments for brands to be in, to and they're used for all different types of things. Sometimes for sales, sometimes for networking, sometimes for showcasing. So it turned into something big. And what you don't get to see on the show is like all the events I did and how amazing they were. So one of my favorite events was the Latinx event that was hosted with America Ferrera and Eva Longoria. Jaden Smith was there. It was straight up A-list with like the top Latin producers and talent in the world. And it was just more than that, like Black House at Sundance is so incredibly cool. My friend Rita, who is a powerhouse, who I met when we helped launch Underground at Sundance, John Legend's TV show. That was everything for me. Like we hung out with them, and Rita's a powerhouse. So she was with WGN at the time, and then now is one of the major people at Apple. I think she's at Apple TV right now.
Oh
And
my God.
she's a powerhouse. Like, so she's super amazing. But we've done our tequila. Like sometimes we're doing things with our tequila, and sometimes I'm producing it. So at Black House, we were lucky enough to participate by donating bar, where other things like Latinx, like I actually produced the whole event. And why that one was so special to me is because I own a company in Latin America, in Mexico. And I wanted to put my spin on it, the way we see Mexico as modern and chic and like just so cool and like so innovative. So we created this, like, I should post pictures, but the space was unbelievable. And everyone walked in, like Eva Longoria was like, this looks unbelievable. This is the way I see Latin America, like just classy and sophisticated. And
but people don't know like the other side of it. Like it's super important. And then also just with, when you think Sundance, you're not really just thinking about like all of the things that go into it. You're thinking about like the stars and like the movies and all that's amazing. But at the parties, like how that all got put together, like you're a part of that. And then like, there's just so many different things that go on at Sundance that's not just watching movies or like, you know.
No, and you know what? I watch the films, like we're lucky I get to go to a lot of hot films, but the parties that we're putting on, they're like also you become friends with all these studio heads and all the agents. And, you know, we do things like separately from that, like with our brand and then also with the Institute. I love working with the Institute. They have been nothing but amazing to me since I started working with them. But I mean, it's cool to work with major talent agencies like I did. I helped with WME's party, that HBO piece that you saw on the show. That was HBO with Mark Wahlberg for McMillions. Wow. That docu-series is so good. And then I'm at the parties too. So I feel like not only am I putting them on, but I'm also a guest of. And then I had an amazing experience with Turner Networks, like my friends at Turner are amazing. Like I could list all their names. They're amazing. And we just built a really good business and worked with all the different networks. And, you know, there's so much more to it. Like what people don't realize about Sundance is things that are happening are buying and selling of films. So you do events for that. You do events for the talent so that they can show everyone like, hey, I was in this film. We completed it. Let's do a screening. Let's talk about it. You get that one-on-one interaction. But while all the girls were at that fashion show in Park City, I was across the street with like Jude Law and Sienna.
Like,
Miller.
yeah, you're really
Lisa,
there.
You sound like the Sundance Queen to me.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to get to.
I would never call myself that, but you know how it happened is I digress. But my friend Rita, who was formerly with the WGN and Apple TV, she was there when production heard her say, Lisa Barlow's the Sundance Queen. Sorry, I had a pop-up come up. So she's like, Lisa Barlow's the Sundance Queen. And I like would never call myself that.
But that's why you have other people like to notice it, and because you do everything. So when people are seeing you do all this stuff, putting it together, and like especially when they know you like as a friend, it's like this is who you want to know, and this is who can get you into it. So that's what
I hustle hard. I hustle hard. Like during Sundance, like you can tell in my interviews on the show. Like when I'm in the silver top, there's some of those where I'm like, oh my gosh, you can see no sleep all over my face. Like I literally had like 45 minutes of sleep, but it's really changed my life. Like I'll show you this real quick. This is like one of our Vita Swarovski crystal bottles.
That is expensive.
You know, yeah, you should see some of the other ones. We'll have to get you guys one. They're amazing. But you know, because of Sundance, I got to meet Nadia Swarovski and her whole team and go have this special experience with them. And Najee is amazing. And so we're like, why don't we work together? Like we have to do like something together.
Imagine just having that bottle. Like that's just like a prize. Like
I just carry that around and be like,
no one can talk to me. Like, sorry. That's what leads us to, okay, what do you think about like Katie Maloney? She's on Vanderpump Rules. she's like, oh, I've never heard of Lisa Barlow. And I'm like, well, you're on Vanderpump Rules. You left Utah a long time ago. You're not really like in the whole Sundance like circle. So of course you wouldn't hear of her. What did you think about that shade?
I didn't really think about it. Is that crazy?
Exactly.
I love that.
Exactly.
Because I worked really hard, and when you can, David Levy, who was an amazing friend of mine and I adore him, like he was the head president of Turner Networks. Like we text. So like the fact that like, and Janet Abiaza, who's since moved on from Turner, like when you have those kind of relationships, like Katie would never know about that. Like Katie, like they just wouldn't know. And so,
and
like,
you're not looking for validation from these people. Like, you're not even walking around saying it. You're too busy literally putting
Sundance together. So.
Yeah, exactly. And I just think it's like, I wouldn't expect her to hear of me though, because she wouldn't need me. Like, I'm like, you should just come to a party and have fun.
Exactly. Like, I'll show you why.
Yeah. And it's amazing how things happen. It's like Kismet. Like we did an event for Usher Forrest. Have you guys seen the show Burden?
No.
Amazing director Robbie put it on. You guys have to watch the movie Burden. So
what network is it?
It's, pardon me?
Is it like HBO? Is it Hulu? Is it Netflix?
You know what? I bet you could find it online somewhere, but you gotta watch it. It was intense. Like Dexter Darden's in it, Forrest Whitaker, Usher. So many people. Dexter's a good friend of mine. I love Dexter Darden. He's in that new TV show, the remake of oh my gosh, Slater was in it, like all those guys.
The Saved by the Bell?
Yes. Dexter's in that now. But this movie was super moving, and John and I hosted the dinner with Vita Tequila. Like we paid for the dinner for the cast and crew. And the people in that room were so amazing. And this is why I love Sundance, is we made a lot of great friends from there that will be lifetime friends. And just to have that experience, Usher is the most kind-hearted person I've ever met in my life. Dexter's been a great friend of mine since that dinner. I always am championing him. He came to the Swarovski party with me in LA. And he brought his friend Ramel, who has the best music out right now. I love him. I post about them a lot, but that's why I love Sundance, is because it gives you an opportunity to meet so many people. And the hope is always that you can help promote them too and help build them up. And there's times where we have DM conversations where I'm like, you're amazing. You're going to get this. Like everything's great for you. And, that dinner was impactful for us too, because so many great things came from that dinner. The movie is it's the best time ever for that to come out. It's I feel like everyone should watch it. I think it's seeing a struggle and, people can change, I think is the biggest thing. And you're not defined by how you grew up and who you grew up with. You can change. You can get out of that and change your mentality about things too, is probably the biggest thing.
It seems like the energy there is so positive. It seems like it's just people that are there that want to create and they want to create together.
Creative energy is the best energy. That's what I gravitate to.
Yes. So we're going to get to my favorite question.
Yeah, Kaya has been waiting for this.
Yeah, so I'll just take the mic. The Bella twins. Oh my God. I'm so obsessed with them. I just have a special connection with them because it's I grew up watching WWE. Everyone who listens to the podcast heard me tell the story. Fast forward a little bit. I grew up watching WWE. I love the divas. They had all this attitude and they were kicking ass and taking names. And I'm like, oh my God. Okay. So then I grew out of WWE. Didn't watch it anymore. Was kind of jealous of Nikki Bella because I thought I was going to marry John Cena. So
I love that.
So then E comes out with Total Divas, and I'm like, this looks interesting. So I ended up binging Total Divas, and I'm like, oh my God, I remember the Bella twins when I was growing up. And now, they're having their own, they have their own families. Nikki just had that beautiful baby. I'm not jealous of her anymore. She has Artem. Artem is so amazing. They have a beautiful family. They got pregnant at the same time. They had their babies a day apart. And I was watching season 3 when you guys launched Nicole and Breezy. I saw you on the show and I'm like, that's our homegirl, Lisa Barlow. It's on season.
That's my friend.
Yes, it's on season 3. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to ask Lisa about it because I did get to ask you. Shout out to the Zoom room, or our friends on Instagram. They do this thing where they try to get, some Bravo celebrities to come in the Zoom room. Lisa was one of the first to do it. So nice. Love her.
That was so amazing. We had so much fun that night. That was amazing.
You talked for so long, and then even like getting off the call, we stayed on a little bit, and like, she's so nice. She's so down to earth. But then I wanted to like pull you aside to get you on Bravo Wild Black so I can ask you about all these cool things that we're talking about right now. And like, how did you meet Nicole and Bree? Can you please tell them I said hi?
I will. You should literally, we should all go live one day. They would love it.
I would love it more.
And you know what? Shout them out. Send me a picture with you and their products that you like to use, and I will definitely send to them. They will love it. So
she would absolutely love that. Like,
let's make that happen. I'm in. Let's make that happen. They are like attracts like, and I love to be around people that have passion and drive and like a strong work ethic, and I love to build people up. So that Usher dinner I was talking to you about?
Yeah.
Forrest Whitaker's agent is their agent. Forrest Whitaker's agent is Dwayne Johnson's agent. He's amazing. His name is Brad Slater. And Brad and I like had the best time at that dinner, stayed in touch. And he called me and he's like, hey, I work with Nikki and Brie Bella. And I didn't really know who they are because I don't watch a ton of TV. I watch some Bravo before I go to bed because it's easy. I'm like, oh, I can watch their problems, forget about mine.
Yeah.
Or Disney,
now you're on it.
or Disney because of my kids. And so Brad and he talked to me. I flew to LA and I met with Nikki. I was staying at Hotel Bel Air. She came and met with me. She was still with John Cena. And I'm like, I want to work with you. Like, I absolutely love you. We got to create together. And they had a really strong business. They're busy, so they can't be involved in the day-to-day, but I'm great at the day-to-day. So we took hours and hours. Jack came to some of the meetings with me, like, because we met in LA multiple times with Nikki and Bree. They are everything you think they are and more. You guys are
very similar. Like, that's why I'm just like, I know why she's friends with them, because like they're go-getters,
click.
Like, even though they were forced to retire. So, that was kind of, going to the next phase of your life. They have the wine company now, just like you have the Vita Tequila. And then now you guys have collaborated on the hair and body products that we reviewed in one of our older podcasts, which we love the body products so much.
Yes.
Check it out. Yeah. So, I mean, do you talk to them like regularly? That's my last
Nikki's
question.
Texting me while we're talking. Like, she's literally, like, I'm not kidding you.
No, you don't understand. Like, I keep trying to tell everyone, I'm like, watch Tony.
Do you care if I tell her I'm on with you guys?
Can you please tell her that you have her biggest fan right now? That me and my mom literally sat down and watched the last episode when they brought the babies home, and Artem he got to go back to Dancing with the Stars, and like she was so emotional and like so real. It was so amazing. Love that show. Can't recommend it enough. Aaron cannot. Aaron is just like, okay.
I support it because I know this is
because he has his shows that he's passionate about.
Absolutely loves. So I'm here for it.
You're on the group text.
Oh my God.
This is all happening on the podcast.
Listen, it goes down on the podcast, but
No, but I love that, and they are so real, and those are so real moments for them. Just talking to them all the time because we own a business with them. Well, Bree has little Birdie who's like everything.
Gorgeous.
She's so sassy.
Adorable.
She dedefinitely is a Bella twin, like blonde, but she is the third sister, like the way she interacts with them. But just, having them go through owning a business with them and being pregnant during a pandemic while filming a reality show, that's a lot. But they are amazing and they're funny. Yes. They're really dry humor, which I have. And like, they're amazing. And I love Nikki with Artem and Bree with Brian. Like, Artem is so amazing for Nikki because she has that like passionate side of her and that like romantic side of her, which is incorporated in the brand. Like, with the Bella red, and I'm like wearing it. And
Yes.
but they're absolutely amazing. We're gonna make that happen. You
I
have
would
to talk to
die.
them.
That's
Send me
it.
pictures of the product and they will post
Okay.
for sure.
Watch her take pictures like right after
Yeah, I'm like
this.
itching to go right now. But so, can you tell us how Real Housewives of Salt Lake City came together? I know it was the year before last that we're seeing. So, you know, guys, don't be cringing. This is pre-corona time, which is also what I love, that we don't have to see masks and all
Yes.
these remind me of like the day that we're living in.
Same.
So just tell us how you ended up being on there. Did you ever see yourself on TV as a housewife, or even just on TV, on reality TV?
Right.
You know, it didn't feel that foreign to me because I've been around it for like over 13 years, like the
Yeah.
film industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen like, you know, I see how hard it is. Like I knew it was going to be a job. I didn't know how much work it was going to be, but I knew it was going to be a lot of work. But yeah, I did. And, you know, at the same time that we started talking about this show, 2 other production companies had reached out to me to do other projects. And I felt like it was the right time in my life, where my kids are at an age where, you know, when they're little, like infants, and even till 2 and 3, like I'm there for my kids every day. Like I drive them. I'm very hard on myself as a mother. Like I expect so much more than
But you're
they
hands-on.
demand of
Like
me.
you make time for your kids, as we see on the show and like in real life. Even now, you know, your son was just Henry was just here. So you're
he's outside the door sitting and listening. But I love being a mother. I had kids because I wanted children. Like I'm sad I didn't have more. I'm glad I have 2. We got really busy, and Jack, to me, when I had him, I'm like, oh my gosh, I was carrying him on my hip till he was like 6, until I was pregnant with his brother. And then people are like,
God,
why are you still carrying your 6-year-old? And I'm like, he's a baby. Like
he's always gonna be
He's
your
your
baby.
It was probably like how your family was with you, Gaia, like carrying you around like she's the baby.
I'm like always there, yeah.
And then we got pregnant with Henry, and literally I was getting my nails done, and the girl did my nails forever, and she's like, you're gonna have a baby this year. And I'm like, it's March and there's no way that's happening. She's like, you're having a baby this year, and it's gonna be a boy, and it's gonna be a Sagittarius. And I was like, no way. Yeah. Oh, 8 weeks later, I found out I was pregnant, and I was having a little boy.
I know you thought
and
about
he was
that
supposed
moment.
to be in January. Isn't that crazy? It's crazy. I should have her predict the rest of my life. Hopefully it's good.
It's like, do I want to know? Or
I go back to her and be like, hey.
Yeah, that's so funny. Like a couple of housewives have had those kind of moments. Like on Real Housewives of Atlanta, like Candy was told that she would remarry and that her husband was there. And her husband was working in production, and that's how she married Todd. So that's cool.
I love Candy, and I love her with her
husband.
She's
a boss like you. Like
she's way better than I am. Like she is amazing. And like the fact that she can write music like that, like people don't realize like Skylar Grey's like Candy. They like have their own songs, but then they're doing so much behind the scenes. She is, when I watch her, I'm like, don't fuck with her.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But how did the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City like concept, like was it brought to you? I think it was by Meredith.
No, you know what happened is I was getting a blowout, and my friend called me. Like they own a restaurant. We sell our tequila to them. They're big supporters of us, and like vice versa. And I also do a lot of Sundance events with them. They're either catering it or they're hosting in the restaurant. So her husband, Teak, works with this guy named Jason who worked for the production company. And she texted me and she's like, hey, my friend, Teak's friend from childhood would love to talk to you about potentially doing something in Utah and like pick your brain. And so I was getting a blowout when he called, and we talked for over an hour and a half. And he's like, we have to do something in Utah. And then from there, I started recommending, you know, I thought it was going to be a show more about like women in business. We didn't know what it was going to be at that time, but I knew they wanted strong women. So I just started recommending so many of my beautiful girlfriends that are like powerhouses that build stuff. Like at that yurt event, my one girlfriend that was there, Ashley Cole, she owns Cecilia New York Shoes and Glitz and Glam. She built that business herself, even though her dad owns JetBlue, like the airline.
Oh my God. So she doesn't have to do anything, but she wants to.
Yeah. And she literally, her dad, she's one of, I want to say 11 children. Her sister Vanessa was there too. but they work so hard, and she's self-made. And I just love strong women. So I was like, this is going to be amazing. I love this. I recommended Heather Gay. I had met Heather Gay through my friend Angela, who I set up with her husband. Her husband's family and I are very close. So my best friend married his brother. I know that's I just totally you need a flow chart for that. Okay.
Yeah.
Like that's confusing, but Angela was friends with Heather Gay, and Heather Gay does a Black Friday sale every year for Christmas. And so Angela hit me up and was like, hey, my friend has this new, it was called Visage Day Spa back then. It was like end of 2016. She changed the name in 2017. She texted me and she's like, my friend is like a single mom entrepreneur. Would you want to help her? And I said, absolutely. I didn't know Heather at all, but I loved Angela. And if Angela's saying, you got to help, I'm like in. So we sent bartenders a bar. They're contract bartenders. Let me just make that clear. Like, you don't have any bartenders that work.
That's how it works, you guys. Like, she doesn't have bartenders on staff.
Just in case anybody was wondering.
Anyone was wondering. And then, so we sent that. And then in January, one of my clients, Turner Networks, likes to do fun things. And I called Angela and I said, hey, did you think your friend would want to do something at Sundance with Turner? And then Turner decided it probably wasn't a good idea to do vitamin B shots because people drink so much. To get that vitamin B shot, you like wake up.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a little boost in the morning. And so it didn't end up working out with them, but Meredith was doing a pop-up with Rooted, a boutique on Main Street. And I donated the bar for that. And then I was also putting films in there, like a few indie films at night for the parties to get the celeb aspect in there. So I said to Heather, I'm like, it didn't work out with this, but if you want, you can come in here and do injections, and people will actually pay. Yeah. And so you paying to be there, they'll pay for the injections. So that's like how I met Heather. And then I was like thinking like, oh, this could be great for her and her business to showcase what she's doing, because she was still starting out. Like it was still such a baby business. And then I think she recommended, one of the guys that worked at Beauty Lab was great friends with Jen. Like, I don't think Heather was friends with Jen, but there's a gentleman named Murillo who works with Jen now that worked for Heather, but they had been friends for years. I don't know how, but they were friends. And he told Heather, like, call this girl Jen Shaw. She's so everything for this show.
Yeah.
So that's where Jen came from. And then Whitney, I didn't know Whitney at all. I think she was friendly with Heather, but not close. And then Heather had recommended her, and they like found out they were cousins, I think, after her father passed away. Heather's father passed away last summer. So, but that's the group.
I know this is impossible, but I wish there was a prequel showing all of this, because this sounds like you guys have like a really genuine connection and chemistry.
Yeah, just to see how it all came together.
Yeah, like, just how it all kind of came together. And I think a lot of it, the good thing is like, Meredith and I are obviously friends. And Meredith and I shared the same friend, Megan, whose husband's Teak, who knew Jason. And
connection. Networking.
They call it Small Lake City for a reason. But it's funny because like we're all so different. So we probably didn't all hang out before, but I think it's cool for people to see so many different types of personalities. Like, I think that's really cool.
And backgrounds. Like, you guys really broke the mold with the religious center. Right. Everyone is something different or a mix of both. We love that. And then also cultures, Jen Shaw is, in her family, like her husband is Black. Like, we have Mary Cosby, like she's Black. And it's just like, it represents what my world is. Like, I don't just have a certain type of friends, a certain, religious background friends. Like, this is real life. So that's what we pushed in our like episodes, everything, even the basis of this podcast is like Bravo Wild Black.
How can we include everybody?
How can,
I love what you guys are doing. I think it's so killer. I think it's so great. It's necessary, but that's how my life naturally is too. Like it's a mix of, and I love different. One thing I loved about going to BYU was the cultures there. Like, it's like a melting pot of cultures and countries and people. And one thing I love to point out about Jen, she does bring something unique. She's the first Polynesian housewife we've ever had. Jason Momoa and Dwayne Johnson moved over.
Exactly.
We got Jen Shaw.
We have our superhero Polynesian powerhouse. We love Jen Shaw. She sent us some Shaw Squad merch. So yeah, shout out to Jen Shaw. So
she has such a big personality too. I'm obsessed with her. And Mary brings something different. Mary to me is Mary's calming, but I love that Mary's super direct. Like Mary has no filter, and I love directness because I don't want to guess how are you feeling today? Did I upset you? She's like, you made me mad and this is why. And I'm like, oh good, let's talk about it.
Yeah,
I do better with that than the dancing. The dancing doesn't work for me.
Who do you talk to the most on the cast?
Probably Meredith and Jen. And then Mary, I send text messages to randomly. I think they're all great. I love Jen and Meredith probably the most though, for sure. And then I love sending Mary DMs and making sure she's doing good, and checking in on her. But those two probably the most.
Well, listeners, I was on Watch What Happens Live again. Unfortunately, Aaron had to work.
Yeah.
He always has to work when they always
ask.
So I just had my roommate come sit next to me, I need someone next to me. But when I was on Watch What Happens Live in the audience, they had the shout out to the Bravo Breakdown and Bravo historian Samantha Bush, Sasha Morfa. Love you guys, did amazing. Andy actually announced, because Danny Pellegrino asked if there was going to be a Salt Lake City second season, and Andy literally right then and there was like, oh, they're definitely coming back. And that was we knew you guys were coming back because you guys have it all.
You brought it.
But that was
they have to come back.
It was obvious. It would be crazy for them not to bring you guys back. But that was the first time he said it. And that's when the news broke. So I was like, oh my God. So can you tell us if you're going to be on season 2?
Well, I definitely know they want me to be on season 2.
Of course.
Which it's an honor to be on the show. For me, I'm trying to think how I want to put this into words. I understand what a great franchise it is and how hard people have worked to make it that way.
Yeah.
So to be on the show, it's literally an honor. I'm grateful for the opportunity, and it's a fun way to showcase my life. And the only reason I want to be on was I hope there's somebody somewhere that's John and I call it seashells, or starfish, not seashells. When you're walking on the beach, if you can when you're walking on the beach, if you can save one starfish, then you've done a good job. And I'm I just hope there's somebody that's I'm learning from her. I'm not afraid anymore if Lisa's doing it. And just watching Nikki and Bree and I look at their social media, I look at our brand social media, and to see how inspiring they are, that's why I wanted to be on it. I was hoping maybe somewhere, maybe I can't see you in Kentucky, but I can inspire you from Utah to say, you know what, she has 2 kids, she's working, I'm okay, and I can do it too. And that's
you can do it all. You can be a mother and you can be a businesswoman. You can have it all.
You don't have to put yourself in a box. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people put themselves in a box. We own hair care, we own liquor, we invest in tech, we build homes. And by the way, I need to say this. Yes. Our house was under construction. We didn't know we were going to have a TV show that happened fast. But so many people are does she squat?
Everyone's
half the time. We were literally bouncing between our house and a hotel. We didn't have a roof on our house when Bravo started filming.
Oh my God. Yeah, because everyone
I was talking to them at the reunion. I'm hey, you kind of glazed over the fact that my house was ripped apart.
Yeah, can you include that?
Show that. But even the way my bedroom looks now from in scene, I'm okay, yeah, it's different.
That's why I thank you for coming on the podcast, because now people know.
Yeah, what the deal is. You don't get, everything doesn't make the cut, and that's just kind of how TV works in general.
That's showbiz, baby.
You have to create
that's show business.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
When you see how many hours, we did that scene right before Henry's, I shouldn't say scene, we had dinner as a family right before Henry's birthday party. We filmed for 6 hours and so many funny things were said. And then they reduce it to, Henry, we're going to do your birthday party this week. And he's he's doing I'm what are you, ventriloquist? So that's all you see from all of the dinner, and you don't get to see a lot. And But, you know, it's been an amazing experience. Like, I have loved every second of it. It's hard. It's definitely hard.
I couldn't even imagine. Like,
You gotta have a backbone. You gotta
yeah,
have thick skin and a backbone.
yeah, that confidence.
I love how everyone thinks I'm so mean. They're like, she's like, I am the opposite. Like, when people are like, you're pretentious, you're obsessed with yourself. Like at Mary's luncheon, I literally poured my heart out. Jen and I had this like amazing bonding moment where I'm telling, you know, people typecast people. I don't like that. I don't do that to people or label people. It's my biggest pet peeve. I'm like, let people be themselves. Like, maybe today I'm a fashionista, maybe tomorrow I'm a chef. Like, let me evolve, let me be. And the conversation was really amazing because that's when Jen and I started to become closer friends, because she's like, I feel that. That's how I feel. People think we're one way and treat us based off their feelings, not off of who we actually are. And that was hard for me. And I was expressing that. And then they pare it down to where I'm like, I'm just not changing. I love the way I am. And I'm like, no, there was so much more to it.
Opposite, yeah.
But I said more than that.
And everyone should be authentic to themselves. Like,
For sure.
So important. Everyone should feel like they can be themselves.
I think everyone's like, even from very early on in the beginning episodes, obviously the first episode was like, oh, you know, Lisa's a mean girl because she said that I don't know her. She's pulling that I don't know her card. But then by like by like the second episode, you're just ordering like a Diet Coke with a bunch of ice in it. You have these relatable moments that, you know, your personality does get to shine through, you know, later on in the season. So, you know, we know that you're not the mean girl that they tried to portray you at first.
Yes.
You know, you're really down to earth and relatable. Can you tell us anything about the reunion? Anything juicy? Anything that you can give us, even if it's about season 2?
I can tell you this. It was long. We all got to do it in person, which is amazing. I didn't know.
Love your outfit.
Opportunity, and to be in person is so much more impactful. Doing things over Zoom, I feel bad for any of the franchises that have had to do it that way, because you really can't get closure. I feel like I said everything I needed to say. I think I talked more than anybody else at the reunion. and I just feel like, I think some people probably don't feel like they have that full closure. I think some people still don't take the time to see certain people. And I think you're going to be shocked at who ends up making up at the end. I think you're going to be shocked. I'm happy about it. I like to build bridges, not build like things that divide people. So I was really happy with what happened. And I mean, we could have been there another whole day and probably, I mean, it was a long day. And Andy was super charming. He's adorable. He looked adorable. And our set, I think, was the most beautiful set I have ever seen on a Housewives.
Yeah, because it matches your background. They did
Salt Lake so well. Like, we got Lizzo, we got Post Malone, we got the beautiful set, we got an in-person reunion. We got to film all of our interviews in a studio, you know, COVID friendly, of course. And it's just been a really great experience. I feel like they tried really hard to make it a great experience. Their job is just to showcase us telling our stories. And I'm excited to see what season 2 brings, if I'm on it.
Yes. You got to be on it, girl.
We hope so. Please.
They would miss my one-liners. They would be like sad.
There would be no Salt Lake City without Lisa Barlow. So like, we are
and that's on
to the second season. So we are going to be wrapping up the Bravo While Black podcast. We want to move this to the Patreon, where we get to know even more about Lisa herself and not Lisa on TV. But thank you guys for listening. Thank you for coming to the Bravo While Black podcast.
Thank you for inviting me. I feel honored. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You guys are the cutest, and I love what you're wearing. You guys look so amazing.
Listen, I'm going to show you. I'm going to get up and show you my outfit. Like,
let me see. I have
a dress.
Both of you.
When we get on break, we'll show you our outfit. But thank you so much. We really love you, and we love you on the show. And just thank you for just taking the time out of your day to do this.
Oh my gosh, I feel honored. Thank you.
So listeners, I have taken on a new gig. I'm freelancing social media for The Dip. You guys heard me talk about The Dip before, but they have, hired me on for the time being to freelance social media. If you guys could follow at The Dip on Instagram, THEDIPP, you'll be talking to me most of the time. I'm going to be posting memes. I'm going to be talking about TV. We cover everything from like Outlander and shows on Stars and shows on Netflix and obviously the Housewives, because there is
in Bridgerton.
Yeah, and Bridgerton. Obsessed with Bridgerton. That's the most we cover right now. But I'm doing social media for the dip, so please give them a follow, and also give us a follow on Instagram at Bravo While Black. And Lisa, can you tell them about some of your businesses, a little blurb about whatever you want to advertise? You know, we got Vita Tequila, we got Nicole and Breezy. You do it all, honey. So just bring it to the table.
Well, my baby is Vita Tequila. It's a luxury Highland made tequila. We've been in the business before tequila was cool. And everything about it, from the liquid inside to the topper, is perfection. And one thing I like to point out with our tequila is we own our own crops. So we control the whole process from farm to the bottle, which is pretty amazing. And it's also kosher, paying some homage to my Jewish roots. So it's Holy Land and Passover kosher. And then I love what my kids are doing. My husband was given up at birth for adoption, adopted, returned, and then adopted again. He did a small stint in foster care. And it really upset my older son when he was growing up, like how anyone could give his dad away. He would watch Meet the Robinsons and cry the whole time and be like, Daddy, how could anyone give you up? You're so amazing. So when we started working on the product with Nikki and Bree, Jack was like, I really want to do something. And they pitched us. Henry named the brand, Jack helped build it. And they're a part of every process, from the fragrance to working with the lab on consistency. And I'm really proud of them. And every unit we sell, we give one to displaced youth. We focus heavy on foster system because it's broken and it needs a lot of love. Those kids don't get $15 a day. It costs more to board our dog Kendall. It's 3 times that to board Kendall. So we have to support foster youth and to give them something special where they feel like they have something luxurious of their own. So we do that, buy one, give one. And then, you know, I'm just like, I love working with Nikki and Bree, and I feel like my hair is so shiny because
yes, it is.
Yes.
And but I feel grateful. I'm so blessed that we get to work. Like you know, people are like, work less, and I'm like, I'm so grateful I get to have a job. I'm so grateful I get to work. I'm proud of it too.
Amazing. And thank you so much. And you guys can find her you obviously already follow her on Instagram, but at Lisa Barlow, Lisa Barlow, and Nicole and Breezy at what's their Instagram?
NicoleandBreezy.com. It's so confusing because it's Nikki and Bree.
Yeah.
Bree's nickname is Breezy, and Nikki's obviously Nicole. Mm-hmm. So we did Nicole and Breezy. We tried to do Nikki goes by Coco, but I'm like, I don't really want a lawsuit from Chanel. So can we come up with something else? But the brand is amazing, and they're actually doing a photo shoot for the brand right now. Nikki was sending pictures. So
amazing.
But you guys, thank you so much. And I can't wait. I'm going to talk to Nikki and Bree, but send me a little video message I can send them. They will love that.
Of course. And guys, if you want to check out any of the products, we'll list the Instagram pages in the description. So
this
you
episode.
have it.
And we're going to end Bravo While Black, and we're going to go into the Patreon, which is going to be like